Hey everyone! Ready for a deep dive into something that might just change how you see your tech career? We're going to be tackling rejection,
Ooh, yeah.
which, let's be honest, is something we don't really talk about a lot.
Yeah, not really.
But it's so important, especially in tech, which can be super competitive.
Absolutely.
So to help us navigate all this, we've got a great resource, a blog post by Algo Academy.
Okay, cool.
It's called Handling Rejection and Continuing to Improve, a Programmer's Guide to Resilience.
I like that title.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's full of really practical strategies that we're
Right.
going to break down for you today.
One of the things I found really interesting in the post was how it talks about rejection being normal.
Oh yeah, that's something we hear all the time.
It is.
But the post actually explains why it's so common, especially in tech.
Yeah, it goes deeper than just saying, oh, it happens.
Exactly, like rejection happens, sure, but why is it practically a guarantee in this field?
Well, first off, the tech world is crazy competitive,
Oh, for sure.
especially if you're aiming for the top companies.
Like Google, Amazon, Facebook.
You got it, those FAN companies?
Yeah, everyone wants to work there.
They do, and you've got tons of talented people applying for the same positions.
So even if you have the skills, it could be tough just because of the sheer number of applicants.
Exactly. It's a numbers game sometimes.
It's like trying to stand out in a massive crowd.
That's a good way to put it.
And then sometimes it comes down to stuff you just can't control.
Like what?
Well, like maybe the company has a very specific need.
Oh, yeah, they might be looking for a very particular skill set.
Yeah. Or maybe it's just bad timing.
Ah, like the budget got cut or something?
Exactly. It's not always a reflection of your skills as a programmer.
That's important to remember.
It is, but I think we tend to take rejection personally, don't we?
I think it's natural.
Yeah, you put so much effort into prepping for interviews, tailoring your resume,
Hours of work.
then you get a no, and it's hard not to think, what's wrong with me?
The post actually acknowledges that feeling.
Does it?
Yeah, it doesn't try to pretend that rejection doesn't sting.
Makes sense.
In fact, it says you should let yourself feel those feelings.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because bottling things up won't help.
So step one is allowing ourselves to be disappointed.
Yeah, acknowledge those feelings.
Okay, but then how do we shift from feeling bummed to actually using this experience to grow?
Well, that's where the really cool part of the post comes in.
Okay, tell me more.
It talks about using a growth mindset to see rejection as a learning opportunity.
Okay, growth mindset, we hear that a lot, but what does it actually mean when it comes to rejection?
It's about changing how you look at things.
Okay.
So instead of seeing rejection as like a dead end, a sign that you're not good enough,
Yeah.
you see it as feedback, like a signpost pointing you towards areas you can improve.
So it's not about dwelling on what went wrong, but figuring out how to do better next time.
Exactly.
Okay, I like that.
And the post gives a really good example.
What is it?
It talks about how even experienced programmers can get rejected for roles that need a very specific skill.
Oh, yeah, like if they're looking for an expert in a certain programming language that you haven't used much.
Right. And that's where the growth mindset comes in.
Instead of getting discouraged, you can see it as a chance to learn something new.
Yeah, exactly. You can say, okay, this is an opportunity to add another skill to my toolbox.
So it's about finding that gap in your skill set and then actively trying to close it.
You got it.
But that takes self-awareness, right?
It does.
Like, how do you know what areas you need to work on? Does the post have tips for that?
It does.
Awesome.
It really emphasizes asking for feedback whenever you can.
I can see how that would be tough, though.
It can be. It's like asking someone to critique something you've poured your heart into.
Exactly. But I guess, like with anything creative, sometimes you need an outsider's perspective.
You do, to see what you might be missing.
So it's about getting data, both from other people and from our own self-reflection.
Yeah, gather as much information as you can.
But then what? How do we actually use that feedback to get better? What does the blog post say?
This is where it gets really practical.
Lay it on me.
The post says you should make a concrete learning plan.
Oh, okay. So not just a vague idea of what you want to learn.
No, it's about getting specific and making a plan.
Give us an example. What would that look like?
Okay, so let's say you've realized you need to brush up on your algorithms knowledge.
Algorithms. Those can be scary.
They can be for sure.
So what does the post say about tackling those?
Well, it mentions some really great resources for algorithm practice.
Oh, like what?
One of them is, of course, Algo Academy.
Makes sense.
But they also mention LeetCode, HackerRank, Code Wars.
Those are all great for practicing those coding challenges you see in interviews.
Exactly. It's like training for a coding marathon.
You got to put in the work.
You do, and the post really emphasizes consistency.
So even just a little bit of practice each day can make a big difference over time.
It all adds up.
So we've got self-assessment, feedback, a learning plan, consistent practice.
We're building a good foundation here.
We are, but there's more, right?
Oh yeah, there's one more piece that's super important.
What is it?
Finding support and guidance along the way.
Because even with all the online resources out there, sometimes you just need a human connection.
Absolutely.
Someone to bounce ideas off of, someone to cheer you on.
That's where community and mentorship come in.
Coding can feel so solitary, but there's a whole world of programmers out there going through the same thing.
That's so true.
So how do we tap into that community? What does the post say?
It talks about attending tech meetups, joining online forums.
Yeah, and maybe even finding a mentor.
Exactly.
I know finding a mentor can feel intimidating for some people.
It can be, but it doesn't have to be this big, scary thing.
Okay, good.
The post says you can start small, like reaching out to someone you admire on LinkedIn.
Yeah, or striking up a conversation at a meetup.
Just start building connections and see where they lead.
So no need to stress about finding the perfect mentor right away.
Just put yourself out there.
I love that. And sometimes those connections can turn into amazing opportunities.
They can. You never know what might happen.
That's so true. And the post also talks about the benefits of being an active member of the community.
Like how?
Like answering questions on forums, contributing to open source projects.
Helping others while you learn.
It's a win-win.
Totally.
So we've covered a lot of ground already, all inspired by this Algo Academy blog post.
It's a great post.
It is. We've talked about how to see rejection as an opportunity for growth.
And the importance of a growth mindset.
And about taking action to improve our skills.
It's all about learning and growing.
You've been taking notes, haven't you?
Oh yeah, I'm soaking it all in.
This is great stuff. Are you ready for the next part of our deep dive?
Definitely. Let's keep going.
All right, so we've talked about how to turn rejection into a learning experience.
Yeah, we've laid some good groundwork.
But I'm guessing most of you are listening because you want to get that awesome tech job.
That's the dream, right?
And to do that, you got to nail those interviews.
Yeah, interviews are a big hurdle.
They are. And there's one thing the Algo Academy post said about interviews that really stuck with me.
What's that?
It's how they connect that growth mindset to the actual process of technical interview.
Oh yeah, I remember that part.
So it's not just about having a positive attitude.
It's about using that mindset to prepare for what can be a pretty tough experience.
Exactly. And the post actually gives specific strategies to help you feel more confident and ready.
Even when you're faced with those scary whiteboard coding challenges.
Oh, whiteboard coding?
I know, right?
It's like the ultimate test of your skills.
And your ability to perform under pressure.
Totally. I still get nervous just thinking about it.
Me too.
Mm-hmm.
It can be intimidating, but the post actually explains why it's so common.
Why do they make us do whiteboard coding?
Well, it's not just about seeing if you can write code without your IDE and Stack Overflow.
Yeah, there's more to it than that.
It's about seeing how you solve problems, how you think on your feet.
Oh, okay.
And how well you can explain your thought process.
So it's not just about the code itself, it's about how you get there.
Exactly. Imagine you're given some complex problem.
Oh, yeah, like a tricky algorithm?
The interviewers want to see your approach.
Do you jump right in, or do you take a minute to think it through?
Right. Can you break the problem down into smaller steps?
Can you explain what you're doing in a clear way?
It's like they're looking for those communication skills, too.
That makes sense because in the real world, you're not coding in a vacuum.
No. You're usually working with a team.
Explaining your ideas, collaborating on solutions.
So the whiteboard exercise is kind of like a mini version of that.
But how do you even practice for something like that?
Well, the post has some good tips.
Okay, tell me.
The first one is to just embrace the awkwardness and practice as much as possible.
Like find a friend and make them watch you code.
Exactly. Or even just talk through your code out loud to yourself.
So it's like a dress rehearsal for the real thing.
Yeah. And here's a pro tip from the post.
What is it?
Record yourself while you're practicing. I know it sounds a little weird.
It does.
But it lets you watch yourself objectively.
See what you're doing.
Yeah, you can spot any nervous habits or filler words you use.
So you can see how clearly you're explaining things.
It's amazing what you can learn from just watching yourself.
That's a great idea. And the post also talks about mock interviews, right?
Yeah, those are super helpful.
It's like having a scrimmage before the big game.
Exactly. It helps you get used to the pressure.
But it can be tough to find someone to do a mock interview with you.
It can be. But the post suggests reaching out to your network.
Okay.
Maybe connect with alumni from your school or look for online communities.
Yeah, where people offer mock interview help.
And remember, most people in tech have been through this themselves.
So they understand how valuable it is to have someone help you prepare.
Exactly. We've all been there.
Now, beyond just practicing, the post also talks about targeted preparation.
Oh, yeah, that's key.
What do they mean by targeted?
Well, remember those skill gaps we talked about?
Nah.
This is where you focus your energy.
So if you're applying for a job that's all about algorithms, you should spend extra time practicing those.
Exactly. Don't waste time on stuff that's not relevant to the roles you're interested in.
Be strategic about it.
Right. And there's so many resources out there to help you prepare.
We've already mentioned a few, like Algo Academy, LeetCode, HackerRank,
Those are great for algorithm practice.
and they can also help you get familiar with the types of questions that come up in interviews.
Yeah, learn those common interview patterns.
So you're not caught off guard when you see them.
Exactly. The more you see them, the more comfortable you'll be.
But the post doesn't just focus on technical skills.
It doesn't.
It also emphasizes those soft skills, like communication and problem solving.
Oh, yeah, those are important too.
Because even if you can code like a pro, you got to be able to explain your thinking.
And work effectively with others,
That's where practicing those explanations out loud comes in handy.
even if you're just talking to yourself.
Yeah, it helps you get comfortable with the process.
And here's something else the post mentions that I really like.
What's that?
It says that technical interviews are a two-way street.
Meaning?
It's not just the company evaluating you, you're also evaluating them.
So it's like a first date. You're both trying to see if there's a good fit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the post says you should come prepared with questions for the interviewers.
About the company, the team, the role.
Yeah. You want to make sure it's an environment where you can thrive.
Don't be afraid to ask tough questions.
It shows you're thinking critically.
And that you know your worth.
Exactly.
This Algo Academy post is full of amazing advice.
It's like a roadmap for the tech job search.
And it doesn't just stop at getting the interview.
There's more.
It also gives tips on what to do when you get a job offer.
Oh yeah, the negotiation part.
Which can be awkward, especially early in your career.
It can be for sure.
But the post actually frames negotiation as a way to advocate for yourself.
Okay, so it's about knowing your value.
Exactly. So how do they suggest we approach this negotiation conversation?
Well, the first thing is to do your research.
Research.
Yeah, like know what the typical salary is for the role you're going for.
So you have a realistic idea of what to ask for.
Right. And you can show the company that you know your worth.
But you also want to be respectful, right?
Absolutely. The post says to frame it as a collaboration.
Like you're both trying to find a solution that works.
Exactly. And they remind us that negotiation isn't just about salary.
There's more.
It can also include things like benefits, vacation time, professional development.
Oh, wow. So it's about creating a whole package that fits your needs.
Exactly. And, sometimes even if you do everything right,
Yeah.
the negotiation might not go how you want it to.
And in those cases, the post says it's okay to walk away.
Really.
Yeah, it's about knowing your worth and not settling for less.
That's a powerful message.
It is, and it applies to your whole career, not just salary negotiation.
Knowing when to say no is important.
It is. It's about standing up for yourself and your future.
So in this part of our deep dive, we've gone from whiteboard coding to negotiation.
Yeah, we've covered a lot.
And it all comes back to preparation, self-awareness, and being willing to push yourself.
With the right mindset and the right strategies, those interviews don't have to be so scary.
And they can be a great opportunity to show off your skills and connect with companies.
And ultimately land that dream job.
And, speaking of showcasing your skills, there's one more thing the Algo Academy post talks about.
Oh, yeah, I know what you're going to say.
Building a strong online presence.
That's so important these days.
It is, and we're going to dive into that next.
All right, so we've talked about reframing rejection, nailing those technical interviews, and even how to negotiate a job offer.
Yeah, we've covered a lot of ground.
But now let's dive into something that can feel kind of scary, especially if you're not a natural self-promoter.
I know what you're talking about.
Building a strong online presence.
It's essential in tech these days.
It is, and the Algo Academy post really hammers that point home.
Yeah, they say you could be the most brilliant programmer out there.
But if no one knows about you,
Those opportunities might never come your way.
it's like having this amazing talent, but keeping it hidden.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the post doesn't just say be online.
No, they give actual strategies.
Yeah, for how to showcase your skills and connect with the right people.
All right, I'm all ears. Where should we be focusing our efforts?
Well, they highlight GitHub as a must-have for every programmer.
Like your online portfolio.
That's a good way to put it.
But for those who might be new to this, can you explain what GitHub is and why it's so important?
Sure. GitHub is a platform where developers store and manage their code,
Okay.
but it's also where they collaborate on projects and basically show off their work.
So it's not just about dumping your code there and hoping someone sees it?
No, there's a strategy to using it effectively.
Okay, so what's the strategy? What does the post say?
They talk a lot about well-documented projects.
So clear explanations.
Yeah, organized files.
Make it easy for people to understand what you've done.
Exactly, and even adding some personality to your commit messages can help.
Well, that's interesting. I never thought about that. Like, those little details can make you stand out.
They can. It shows you care about the little things.
Okay, so GitHub's important. What else?
A polished LinkedIn profile is a must.
That's your digital resume.
Right, and it's where recruiters are looking for talent.
Keep it updated. Highlight your skills and experience.
Don't be shy about showing off any cool projects you've worked on.
LinkedIn is so powerful. I think people forget about it sometimes.
It's not just for job hunting. It's for building your network.
Making connections in the industry.
Exactly. And the post also mentions starting a technical blog.
Ooh, a blog. I love that idea.
Yeah, it's a great way to share your knowledge and dive deeper into things you're passionate about.
Establish yourself as an expert.
Plus, it helps you understand things better when you have to explain them to others.
It's like that saying, if you can't explain it simply, you don't understand it well enough.
Exactly. And you never know, your blog could even get noticed by potential employers.
Okay, so we've got GitHub, LinkedIn, a blog. Anything else?
Oh yeah, online communities and forums.
Like Stack Overflow, Reddit.
Yeah. Or even those niche communities for specific technologies,
It's like finding your people.
connecting with others who are into the same stuff,
Sharing knowledge, helping each other out.
and just being an active member of those communities can really boost your visibility.
Like answering questions, offering insights.
It all adds up.
So to wrap things up, building an online presence is not optional anymore.
It's part of the game.
You got to showcase your skills, connect with the community.
And open yourself up to new opportunities.
Wow, we've covered so much in this deep dive.
We have, from dealing with rejection to building your online brand.
And it all comes down to a few key things.
Like what?
Continuous learning, having a growth mindset.
And being willing to push yourself out of your comfort zone.
Rejection is going to happen,
It's part of life.
but it doesn't have to hold you back.
It can actually be a springboard for growth.
That's a great way to look at it.
And remember, you don't have to go through this alone.
There are communities, mentors, people who can help you along the way.
So as we wrap up this episode...
So I have a challenge for everyone listening.
Oh, I like challenges.
What's one thing you can do today based on what we've talked about?
It could be updating your LinkedIn profile.
Or maybe tackling a coding challenge on LeetCode.
Or even just reaching out to someone you admire for a quick chat.
The key is to take action, no matter how small.
Every step counts.
Because those small steps can lead to big things.
So believe in yourself, embrace the challenges.
And never stop learning.
The future is yours to create.
That's a great note to end on. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
It was fun.
Until next time, keep coding, keep dreaming, and keep diving deep.